Hello, and welcome to a brand new video. Today, we're going to look at the brief history of Activision, what propelled them to be one of the biggest gaming publishers ever, and why they're still at the top. If you want more videos like this, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're a gamer, there is no doubt you've seen the words Activision before your game has started, but do you really know the origin? Activision started its humble beginnings with 4 disgruntled Atari employees. After Atari's first console was released, the designers who made it were not paid what they feel like they should have been, considering the console had monumental success. Atari was later sold to Warner Communications, and the head of Atari/Warner believed that video games were nothing more than toys. When one of the lead programmers, named David Crane, had an issue with his pay, he had gone to the president of Atari to voice his frustrations. The president of the company essentially acted as if they were not deserving of any type of enhanced compensation. Later, the straw that broke the camel's back is when David Crane, Bob Whitehead, Alan Miller, and Larry Kaplan, who were designers at the time, were responsible for around 60% of the company's game sales, with the other 30 or so employees at the company responsible for another 20% and the rest the work of staff that had already left the company. If you saw that and you were one of the 4 designers responsible for 60%, you would want the proper pay too, right? We looked at each other, Crane remembers, and said we know we're pretty good at this and our games sell well, but Atari sold $100 million worth of cartridges last year. So we 4 guys making about $30,000 a year made Atari $60 million? There's something wrong here. He explains more in this video.
And it backfired because the 4 of us looked at it and said, "Oh, that's interesting. Mine, Larry's, Al's, Bob's, mine. We had 60% of Atari's sales for the past year, the 4 of us." And then we asked that question what was Atari's sales in game cartridges last year? $100 million? So 4 of us making $20,000 a year made Atari $60 million. So we started thinking. We ended up working our way up to Ray Kassar and saying, look, obviously it's a creative product. We're doing something better than everybody else. We'd like to be rewarded for it. We'd like to have credit on the games. We'd like to see a royalty or some sort of a profit sharing. And Ray Kassar looked us in the eye and said, the guy on the assembly line, if he didn't put it together, there wouldn't be any sales. So he's responsible for 100% of the sales.
So then, the 4 men broke off and thought they could make their own games to compete with Atari. They contacted a lawyer, which subsequently got them in contact with Jim Levy, an expert businessman, and the ex-Atari programmers, with Levy suggested developing carts for Atari's console instead, and thus Activision was born. Atari didn't like this, so they kept trying to sue Activision until 1982, but Activision kept going strong. So, they could look and feel different from other games. Activision only used the most appealing colors, and black borders were employed to keep color bleeding down. In 1982, Activision completely won the suit against Atari, making the 2600 an open platform. That same year, the classic game Pitfall was released and was a big step forward for gamers. One of the developers discovered something by reverse engineering Atari's hardware to make Space Jockey a technically impressive side-scroller. By 1983, they had pulled together a small team in New Jersey, and would later go on to program Activision classics like HRO and Cosmic Commuter. In the mid-1980s, Atari was struggling, and when other companies failed, Activision games flooded store shelves with very low-price surplus stock, being on store shelves for less than $5, while new games were being sold at $40. Activision survived the mid-80s with successes, but Atari did not, and so with Activision being over 300 employees, they couldn't all get the proper pay. Reconstruction of the company was needed. Activision suffered many losses in the 80s, on top of employing a new CEO named Bruce Davis after Jim Levy made some questionable moves. Bobby Kotick had been looking to get into the software business and had been waiting to make a video game company for some time. When the deal fell through, he looked at the skeletal Mediagenic and saw an opportunity to revive one of gaming's most esteemed brands. At the beginning of 1991, they sold a 25% share of the company to Bobby, who appointed himself the company's new CEO. However, even when Bobby took over the company, he didn't know the company was making no money, and said, "I may have spent $440,000, but I think I'm $20 million in debt now." He decided the best move was to start completely new and shut down the old office, so he could open a new one in Santa Monica. With almost no games being released in 1991 and 1992, and in 1993, Infocom, one of the companies Activision bought out years back, released Return to Zork, a completely graphical CD-ROM adventure, and in 1994, Pitfall, the Mayan adventure, became the first new game developed internally at Activision's SoCal office. The reimagining of the classic was a success for the company. In 1995, it released MechWarrior 2, a hard-nosed mech simulator, which was even more of a smash hit than the first one. However, the company's biggest hit so far came in 1999, when they released Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, developed by Neversoft, which revived the genre. At the same time, Activision assigned Neversoft to develop new Tony Hawk and Spider-Man games every year, creating a steady, dependable cash flow to impress investors, with Spider-Man 2000 and Spider-Man Enter Electro 2001 being released to critical acclaim. Although they were not as successful as the first Tony Hawk game, they were still very good. In 2003, Activision hit their stride, announcing Call of Duty as a series even before the first game had launched, with Infinity Ward being placed at the helm and given considerable creative control. And in 2007, Activision had its biggest purchase yet, buying out Blizzard Entertainment, the creatives behind World of Warcraft. Blizzard did not age well, clearly, and when the merger was finalized in the summer of 2008, Activision-Blizzard became the largest game developer and publisher on the market. With Bobby at the helm, however, he instilled almost like an environment of fear in Activision, making various studio closing and high-profile firings. Since then, Activision has gone on to have major successes like Call of Duty, Overwatch, Candy Crush, and World of Warcraft, just to name a few. With a net worth of over $20 billion and being bought by Microsoft, there's no secret why this company is a staple in the gaming world. If you liked this video, there are more to come. From Elon Musk to Walmart, we cover your favorite companies/people, so stay tuned.